Robert Jenrick really angered the Liberals when he said this.
In Birmingham the other day to do a video on litter, and it was absolutely appalling. It's as close as I've come to a slum in this country. But the other thing that I noticed there was that it was one of the worst integrated places that I've ever been to. In fact, in the hour and a half that I was filming with news there, I didn't see another white face.
The leftists have been losing their mind, saying that he has to be kicked out of the Tory party, he's racist, he must apologise. But I actually think that their response to what he said shows more about their own racism and how they use the race card to silence people who love England and want to defend it. So before we see their response and why it exposes the hypocrisy, let's take a look at Robert Jenrick's trip to Handsworth in Birmingham, and you can let me know what you think.
Time and again, people keep complaining to me that Britain's streets are covered in litter. So I've come here to Handsworth in Birmingham to see for myself. And these are some of the filthiest streets in the country. People should not have to live like this. The people who are doing this are getting away with it, and the council seems to be doing absolutely nothing. If you think this is bad, wait till you see what happened around the corner the other day. It's literally got so bad that there's tyres, dirty underwear, lying on the street, and the Labour Council is doing nothing about it. Fly tipping and littering is rife.
I'm pretty sure we heard Muslim call to prayer at the end of that clip as well. In England, this is crazy. Now, no one can deny we just saw a slum. No one can deny that. What people are focusing more on, however, are the comments that Robert Jenrick made around not seeing a white face there. Now, many people from the liberal media essentially pointing out that this is racist, and the reason that Robert Jenrick is complaining about not seeing white faces is because he loves white and hates black and brown. Just listen to what James O'Brien had to say.
We found it. Robert Jenrick, the data from the last census for the village in which he currently lives. If I were to tell you that there were only 166 residents in that part of town, or that part of the country, how many of them do you think were white at the time of the last census? So out of 166 residents in his home village in Herefordshire, what percentage of the population do you think were white at the time of the last census? Ask you that question because he doesn't like going to Handsworth and seeing lots of black faces. What are we going to play out? The interview with Sky News where he sort of had a pop at a black journalist for asking him the question that obviously would occur to anybody sensible when they learn that a senior Conservative politician has complained about the colour of the skin on the faces that he saw when he found himself wandering around Birmingham.
So his point is that Robert Jenrick is racist. His problem is seeing black people, brown people, and that only someone who himself lives in a guarded, segregated community and has no sense, doesn't understand the benefits and joys of multiculturalism, would have an issue with the second biggest city in England walking around it for a while and not seeing a single white English person. Like, only a racist would have a problem like that. But it's funny because I can guarantee you James O'Brien would not say this about someone like Trevor Phillips, who, when he was the head of the Commission for Racial Equality, warned about segregated communities and people living essentially parallel lives. No way would he have called him racist. Here is what people like James O'Brien miss, and here's what I used to miss before when I was caught up in the woke soup, is that the reason non-white communities in England is a problem is not because white is inherently better, it just looks better and stuff. It's not because of that. It's because England is a predominantly white English country. It always has been, and it should be, because it's England. So if you have communities where there are non-white people, it by definition means you have divided communities. It means that the people who are coming are not mixing with the people who are here, and therefore you have division. It's also a problem in the British context because our immigration policy over the past couple of decades hasn't been one that purely encourages and incentivizes like the hardest working and the brightest and smartest from other countries to come. Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of that. We have a lot of fantastic people who come, but we also have a lot of dependents who come. We also have a lot of people who come to abuse the welfare system. So that's why you do see communities like that one in Handsworth, where people clearly do not take pride in the area that they live in. Now, I moved out of London several years ago, and where I live now, everybody takes pride in their gardens. Like, everyone's gardening all the time. Their front gardens, their back gardens. People are, they're spraying their patios and stuff. People take pride in where they live. Unfortunately, because we've had an immigration system that's brought in people that are coming to abuse the welfare state, they don't take that same pride. That's why you have communities like that. It doesn't mean that white people are inherently better than black people, but it does mean that as a country, we've got something wrong. But there's a bigger problem facing our country. Why is it that liberals are so quick to claim everything is racist? And what dangers does that pose for us as a society? Well, the reason why so many people are trained to look for racism everywhere is because they've been discipled by a social justice worldview. They've been taught that everything in life is a power struggle between the oppressor and the oppressed. And in this case, the oppressor is the powerful, the cisgendered, heterosexual white male. And the oppressed is everybody else, all the minorities, the LGBT, XYZ, XYZ. And so anytime somebody from the dominant group makes a comment about race, it must be racial. It must be racist in its motivation and intention. Now, not only is that wrong, and not only is that racist in itself to assume that just because somebody is white, when they talk about race, they're being racist, but it's also very dangerous for the harmony in this country. Just think about it. If you have a growing number of ethnic minorities, as we do in this country, and they are constantly being told that the average white person hates them, wants to oppress them, wants to kick them out, doesn't like them because of the color of their skin, what is that going to lead to in generations moving forward? Like, what is that already leading to now? You're going to have a critical mass of the country in the native white population and a growing minority population that constantly are seeing each other as enemies because white people the liberals are telling the minorities that, those white people, unless they're like us, unless they're leftist liberals like us, they're racist and they're against you. It fuels anger and tension and resentment in minorities. And this is why you see so many people who are comfortable saying, we don't have enough black people in the NHS, we don't have enough Asian people in this and that. But then if a white person says, I went to a community and there was not a single white person, a single English white person there, that's a problem. You have that tension, and it's not good for our country. This is why we need to completely reject the social justice idea that looks at justice in terms of group identity. According to the Bible, justice is meant to be delivered to individuals. You don't treat the poor person better than the rich person because he's poor. You don't treat the foreigner better than the native because he's a foreigner. You treat everyone the same under the law. Whereas with social justice, it rejects that idea. It rejects God's design and says that we need group justice. So we need to protect the rights of this interest group, of Asians, of blacks, of XYZ, against other groups like white. And it leads to carnage. It's not the justice system. It's not the justice that our country has been built on. This is why Lucy Connolly spent 3 times longer in jail for hurtful words she said on Facebook than one of the illegal migrants at the Bell Hotel in Epping that SA'd a child. Because in that situation, she represented the dominant class, the oppressor class. So justice is not delivered fairly. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about discipling and teaching my children at home. Because I realize that a lot of the social justice mindset is what we've been taught in schools. It's what we've been taught by these big institutions that have been co-opted by radical leftists. And I don't want that for my family. So I homeschool my children. We take responsibility for discipling our kids in that way, because not only do we want them to have God's view of justice, but we want them to have a godly outlook on the world around them so they can be people that represent Christ in our culture, in their holiness, but also in how they speak out on these issues. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. I know you'll be blessed by it. I'll see you there. Peace and blessings.